Dynasties. Something that happens very often, actually. Pretty much every decade there happens to be one or two. This decade, you've had the Heat and the Warriors. In the 2000s, you had the Lakers. And actually, that's about it. I guess the Celtics and Lakers again. 90s had the Bulls and the Rockets, you could say. The 80s had the Celtics and the Lakers. The 70s had... I actually don't really know. The Bucks. But they weren't really a dynasty. 60s had the Celtics, Lakers, Sixers. And the 50s had the Lakers. And Celtics in their later years. But today we'll be talking about one that should have become a dynasty, but didn't. And as you can already probably tell, as I'm playing as them, we're going to be talking about the Houston Rockets in the 80s. Specifically the 1985 Houston Rockets. The team that went to the finals and was beaten by the Boston Celtics in 6 games. Which is impressive when you think about just how good that Boston Celtics team really was. They obviously had Bird, McHale, Dennis Johnson, Danny Ainge, but they also had nice pieces like, and Robert Parrish, but they also had like Bill Walton's, they had just such a good team. It was ridiculous. Only the Lakers seemed like they could beat them. But the Rockets got close as they went to 6. But let's talk about the makeup of this Rockets team first. I feel like that's something important to start with. So, their leading scorer was Hakeem in his sophomore season with 23.5 points. He had 11 rebounds, 3.5 blocks. Ralph Sampson, the second star of this team, 19 points, 11 rebounds, a steal, and a block and a half per game. I don't know if you really remember Ralph Sampson, I believe he is a Hall of Famer. Let me just check before Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer, 4-time All-Star. He was good for a few years and he fell off. He was supposed to be the next Bill Russell, Kareem, Wilt, guys like that. Instead it was Hakeem. They had Lewis Lloyd, who was a nice scorer. Scored 17 points for them. He played the shooting guard position. Didn't do much else besides play for them, but he was pretty nice. John Lucas, he averaged 15.5 points, 9 assists. That's pretty good stats. Robert Reed, 3.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists. Half a steal and a block per game. Pretty nice. Rodney McRae had about 10 points, 6 rebounds. Alan Lavel had 8 points. And they even had a young Craig Elo down here with 3 points. Obviously a sharpshooter, although he didn't really play much, so it didn't really show. Only shot 33%. But this team was well built. It was built by the monster big man duo of Ralph Sampson and Hakeem Olajuwon. Which, that's 2 7-footers. 7 foot for Hakeem, 7'4" for Ralph Sampson. It's ridiculous. But yeah, let's talk about their playoff run now. So, as I pull up the Kings page, so they put the Sacramento Kings led by Otis Birdsong, I believe. Yes, Otis Birdsong. Or not Otis Birdsong, bro. I'm capping. I don't know what I'm talking about. Otis Thorpe, sorry. Eddie Johnson and Reggie Theus is the stars. I was looking at Otis Thorpe and I read Otis Birdsong for some reason. But they were a decent team. They weren't anything special, It's just Eddie Johnson. Reggie Theus, he was a pretty big guard. But they swept them in the first round. They also won 51 games and finished first in the Midwest Division. They actually did not have great championship odds, so that's interesting. Next they played the Denver Nuggets, who at the time I believe had Fat Lever. Yes. They did, as a matter of fact, have Fat Lever at the time. Yeah, so I had Alex English, and then some other guys like Calvin Nat. I don't really even know who this is. One-time All-Star, I presume that season, yep. So a good team led by like 2 All-Star players. Fat Lever's a decent passer, Decent team. They beat them in 6. Then they go up against what should be the big test, the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, I'm curious what happened. I'm gonna have to check the playoff stats here. I'm curious if someone was missing. I mean, they were missing AC Green, I guess, and Mitch Kupchak. But yeah, I think they were just outmatched. They got beaten 5 by the Rockets. The Dogs, they'd actually done a pretty good job of disposing a team so far. But yeah, they got beaten 5 by this Rockets team. I guess Kareem just couldn't stick with Hakeem. I'm not quite sure. And then obviously they in the NBA Finals they went against one of the greatest teams of all time. They won 67 games. They had ridiculous odds to win the championship. They were the best defensive team in the league, one of the best offensive teams. They finished 3rd in offensive rating and 1st in defensive rating. They swept the Bulls in the first round. As you know, that was the series Michael Jordan went off, set the playoff point record. They played the Hawks, who had Dominique Wilkins, Doc Rivers, Tree Rollins, although Tree Rollins didn't play that much anymore. Eddie Johnson. Decent team. Then they played what should have been their biggest challenge in the Milwaukee Bucks, but they actually swept them. So they had not lost they lost one game. They lost one game versus the Hawks going into the finals. But yeah, I mean, this Bucks team was legit. Terry Cummings, Sidney Moncrief, Alton Lister, Craig Hodges, Paul Pressey, Ricky Pierce. It's a good team. But yeah, once they got to the finals to play the Rockets, it was just over. Rockets weren't much of a match, even if they did play really well that series. I guess McHale and Parrish were good enough, and the issue with the Rockets is the rest of their team was not the greatest thing ever. It was decent, but their bench they kind of have a bit of a fall off once you get past the 6th man. But now let's talk about why they should have become a dynasty. So the next season, in the 86-87 season, they finished with 42 wins, and they lost in the Western Conference semifinals. Why did they have such a big drop-off? Although they didn't win that. Yeah, they won 51 games. Ralph Sampson, let me just find the injury. I have a page pulled up here. Let's see. Ralph Sampson, he hurt his left knee during the 86-87 season. But instead of staying on the sidelines, he rushed rehab and played on a bad knee. Sampson told NBA TV recently that he had very little cartilage in his left knee, and his decision to return too soon proved to be an epic mistake. His game suffered from it, and eventually curtailed his promising career. So pretty much him rushing rehab ended his entire NBA career. It's kind of it's sad. So that season, he had a big fall off, I believe, if I can pull up the stats here. Yeah, he only averaged 15 and a half and 8.5. That's not very good. Hakeem had to really carry that season. And they won in the first round, sure. They did fine. They beat Portland, led by Clyde Drexler, Duckworth, Kiki Vandeweghe. But then they lost to the Seattle Supersonics in how many games? 6. 6 games. Now, this Supersonics team's okay. You know what I mean? Dale Ellis, X-Man, Tom Chambers. Yeah, it's a good team. Alton Lister. But they shouldn't have lost them. So that ended their promising season. They had good championship odds, too. Decent ones. And then finally, the last season with them, they won 46 games, and they lost in the first round to Dallas. Thing was, they didn't have Ralph Sampson all season. They dished him to Golden State for C.P. Floyd, I believe. Halfway through the season, yeah, he had played 19 games for them, got dished to Golden State, where he only played 25. His career went from, he averaged 16 points a season, then he averaged 6, then he averaged 4, then he averaged 3, then he averaged 2. And the 1991-92 season was his last on the Washington Bulls at the young age of 31. No, obviously, I don't think the Rockets were too mad. They went on to win 2 championships in the 90s, led by Hakeem in the first one, and then also Hakeem and Clyde Drexler for the second one. So they're definitely not complaining. But yeah, that's going to wrap this video up. As always, like, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Thank you all for watching. Do appreciate it. I'll be making more of these in the future. For show. And yeah, I guess just enjoy the last few seconds of the gameplay in the background.